Hello and welcome to the Gaming Mix podcast, your mix for all things gaming. I'm Jeff Young from Analog Stick Gaming, joined today by Keith Mitchell from the Outerhaven. How you doing, Keith?
Doing great. And yourself, sir?
Not too bad. I'm recovering from being sick for the past 3 weeks. I've got a little bit of a cough. That's pretty much about it, but clean bill of health otherwise. So it's been...
You know what? I was sick for the longest time, and I'm feeling great. I kind of feel like, with PAX West right around the corner, I'm going to get sick again, and I really hope that's not the case. But knowing my luck, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, that seems to be like everything where like everyone, you see them down there doing their content and all that kind of stuff, and then they get back and they're like, yeah, we caught something. And they're just like, bleh.
I need not to be sick again. I don't need it.
Yeah, like I'm I was sick for like 3 weeks. My roommate who works out of town for work, whatever like that, she's starting to get sick again. It just seems to be going around, but especially when you're visiting, and especially with something like Gamescom where you have people coming from like all over the world.
Yeah. I keep saying we need those full dive human body swap suits. We need the Ghost in the Shell timeline to get here now.
Pretty much. So what have you been up to?
Well, he's gonna love this. I've been playing a lot of Elden Ring with our pal Jordan, who couldn't be here today. And I've been playing 2 games that I can't mention because of embargo, NDAs, and I don't like breaking NDAs and embargoes like some people.
Yeah, that whole deadlock thing has been
it's been interesting, and it tells a very dangerous side of gaming journalism and getting to the finish line first regarding and not caring about what exactly is at stake. So besides, if we did that, we would be, blacklisted up and down the street.
Oh, exactly. Like even when I know the embargo, like right as that time goes on, I do a Google search to see whether or not that content has come out. I'm like, all right, I see it in 3 places. Embargo's good, and drop it. Just because, like, again, you just don't want to be that outlet that just breaks an embargo, especially a small outlet, because they've got nothing to lose by cutting you loose.
Exactly.
Whereas like if IGN or GameSpot breaks an embargo, they're like, okay, well, just don't do it again, and then they're still given everything they need to get their stuff out weeks before anyone else.
I've had people complain to me in Twitter, messaging me saying, "Why am I acting like I'm acting? What's my beef?" And I've said it time and time again. I've said it recently on the Spectrum podcast. It's a double-edged sword that shouldn't be. If one place decides to do this, then it should open the floodgates for everybody else to talk about the content. But that's not the case. And you have such a massive site that has so much, we'll just say, respect or demands a certain amount of respect or a pedigree in the space. And then they go, oh, we're just going to do this, even though it says don't release any information. But I didn't click OK. But you still agreed to it. You still played the game. It says don't show any content from the game. It doesn't make a difference if you hit OK or not. It says don't do it.
Yeah. No, it's pretty, it's pretty hilarious in terms of like how this stuff kind of goes. Just because, again, like you have like the big outlets and they'll do whatever. Like I've had things where like I'll get an email saying like, hey, just to let you know, we've had a couple outlets break embargoes, so we're just going to drop the embargo so you can post it right now. And then I always reply, I'm like, well, the embargo is basically in like 3 hours. I'll hold to that.
Yeah, it's not something I like talking about, but at the same time, it's something that needs to be talked about in this space, because a lot of people that follow just Polygon don't understand that what exactly is at stake. And when you have people like us who run smaller sites, it does a lot. First of all, it's always clicks, it's always traffic. That's the biggest reason why we do what we do. Well, I shouldn't say the biggest reason why we do what we do. We do what we do because we love what we do. But when a site that's already kicking our butts up and down the street decides to go ahead and release something ahead of time that maybe we were also working on, and they released it a day, 2 days, 3 days, a week ahead of time. It's like, well, forget about it. There's no way people are gonna come to our sites and look at what we just did.
Yeah.
Just a bad look for them to do that, and it was equally a bad look for them to try and defend what exactly they did. It's like, there's no defending that. Just stop.
Yeah. No, I always love when like I've put out like a review for a game or whatever like that, and then I don't see it on like the big sites and stuff, and then like I end up getting like some decent traffic because most of the time like they're not going to cover certain games.
Yep.
So I've had like some games that like I reviewed like 2 years ago, and it's still in my top searches for when I'm checking like my traffic, or whatever. So there's some pretty decent stuff, and even some news articles and stuff that I've seen like get weird amounts of traffic. Like I think one of the most viewed things that we've had on the site was the Layers of Fear remake news.
Oh, that wasn't that I don't think the remake did very well, to be honest.
No, but like honestly, it was probably like within, I think it was within 2 or 3 days, I had pretty much like over 3,000 views, like just on that news article, and that was like massive for us, because like per month, like we're getting about that just on the site, but to get that within a couple days.
Yeah, people don't understand that. When somebody like you or I talk about, hey, we get like 3, 4, 5,000 hits on an article, you gotta understand we only get like, I'm only talking about myself. We only get between 3 to 4,000, maybe 5,000 hits a day anymore, just because Google decided that it was going to change up things, and
Yeah,
it sucks. It sucks. It also sucks when you work on something for so hard and then another site scoops you, or not saying that some sites go and look at your stuff and take what you did, but I'm not saying they don't either.
yeah. No, there's some. It's kind of a crazy business in regards to like trying to stand out when you've got so many outlets basically all over the world, and even more that are kind of like shutting down as well too, which is, you know, it sucks when it's your livelihood. Like for me, it's like this is just basically what I do in my spare time. Like I work full time at a grocery store, so like my livelihood is looked after.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Exactly. That's why it's completely different for us. Because like I said, we're doing it because we love what we do. We like the space.
yeah,
But again, as you mentioned, there's been so many outlets that have closed down just because of financials or this, that, or the other. And it sucks.
yeah, yeah. Like you get a lot of people that are like, you see on Twitter and all that kind of stuff, where like they're assuming like everybody at these outlets and stuff are like paid off, or they don't like reading like a lot of like the big sites and stuff like that. I mean, well, hey, then if that's what you guys think, then support the small sites. Like support the people that are basically out there doing it just because like they love doing it. It's a lot of like, I think why a lot of people have like jumped to influencers essentially to get a lot of their news and stuff, because that's, they're not part of this big corporation type of thing.
Oh, you know what though? Here's my beef, and I said this a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to get some heat for it, so I do apologize, Jeff. So you just mentioned that influencers get their news, or they people follow influencers, right? Where
Yeah.
do you think these influencers
Oh, of
get
course.
their where do you think they get their stuff from, guys?
Oh, of
It just
course.
doesn't fall into their lap.
I think it's more that some brands have kind of like poisoned the well to a certain point. Like it doesn't
Oh,
matter like
they've done
who.
more than poison the well, my
Yeah,
friend.
like I think it doesn't matter like who essentially posts the news on, say, something like IGN. If people have beef with IGN, they don't care who writes it. It's the same reason why they're like, oh, you gave this a 4 when you gave this like a 8, but they'll be completely different reviewers, but they just can't get it in their head that IGN isn't just IGN or something like that, or whatever outlet it is. But
It's This is a topic we'll be talking about all day, Jeff.
Oh, for sure.
Just
Alrighty. Well,
all
we
day.
are going to jump into some news. We've got a fair bit to kind of go through here. So let's start it right here. Bungie has acknowledged an issue which has seen widespread username changes on Destiny 2. Following a recent update, players have started reporting that their Bungie names have been reset to generic ones, with Guardian followed by 4 random numbers.
Lovely.
An in-game message informs them that their Bungie name has been changed, either because they are logging in for the first time or they have opted to change it. In a series of posts on X, Twitter, Bungie has confirmed that the issue has affected a high number of players and is currently being investigated. We are tracking an issue where a high number of account names have been changed by our Bungie name moderation tools, the studio wrote on Wednesday. We are actively investigating and expect to have more information tomorrow, including details on an additional name change token for all players. A new update posted today that the studio has found the issue, has prevented it from continuing to happen, and now plans to issue free tokens to let players change their username back. We have identified the issue that was forcing a high number of Bungie name changes. We have applied a server-side change to prevent the issue from impacting accounts going forward. Now, can you have the same username as someone else?
No.
So what stops someone
Nothing.
from doing this and taking a extremely popular username away from, like, say, a YouTuber who has, a history of streaming Destiny?
Nothing. And I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking that there's nothing to stop you. Nothing.
Yeah. Like, that is, like, what I don't understand is, why can't Bungie just manually change the names back to protect this type of thing?
You want to know why? Because that's being lazy.
Yeah.
Why would I go back and revert something that
maybe they should hire people?
Right? That's a novel idea. They go hire somebody just to go fix this.
There's probably some people that have experience that, are looking for jobs right now.
You know what troubles me with all this is all this stuff, this is kept in a database. Don't you back up your databases? Roll back that database.
Yeah. No, like, it just seems like honestly, like, I can't wait to follow this up and see whether or not, like, again, like, some extremely, like, high-end streamer who has had that username for, like, forever. 6 years or whatever, suddenly losing it, to somebody that probably had, like, Teapot 69 or something like that, like, it's just weird.
I think, though, also it could also be a way for them to actually retroactively try and screw people over. Like, for example, maybe somebody had a name that was maybe should not have been up there, and maybe this is a way of saying, well, now that you register that name, you really can't have that name anymore. You should probably do something else.
Mm-hmm. No, just some weird. It's kind of a weird glitch, but I mean, at least they were able to find it, to kind of figure out where to go from there. But that's not the only Bungie news that we have, and that is the mood at Bungie regarding its upcoming game Marathon is not great, it's claimed. Appearing on the latest episode of Skill Up's Friend Per Second podcast, Bloomberg journalist Jason Schreier was asked what the temperature check was at Bungie relating to Marathon. Not great from what I've heard, Schreier replied. There's a reason that it was planned for this year and slipped a whole year, and the people that I've talked to are a little pessimistic about it even hitting its current planned deadline. But we'll see. I don't know exactly when that is, sometimes in 2025, I'm not sure. He added, yeah, the sentiment I've heard is not great around it, at least from a few months ago. Schreier pointed out that the game received a leadership shakeup earlier this year when game director Christopher Barrett, and executive producer Kerry Guskus left the project. Given his opinion on the likely reception to the game when it's released, Schreier said he didn't feel like Bungie fanbase would be enthusiastic about a PvP extraction shooter, and that he was concerned its continued development may lead to a similar issue to that of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I am not interested in Marathon.
Nope.
Like I've had my fill of extraction shooters. The Rainbow Six one that released, I can't remember what it's called, Extraction or something like that.
And there's another one coming out. You know, we're tired of these games. We're tired of these extraction shooters. And
yeah, like I didn't even play much of the extraction stuff in the Division, and I played the shit out of Division 2.
oh, I love because that was the PvP portion. I love that was the only PvP portion. So I like that. But I was saying, first of all, a little bit of my history. Like most people know, I shouldn't say primarily a PC gamer, but my gaming started back on PCs, and I followed a lot of it. And I remember Marathon, the original Marathon. So when they said, "Hey, we're working on a new Marathon," I was psyched, and they were like, "Oh no, it's gonna be this," and I was like, "You know what? I don't even care. Don't even care about this game." And the sentiment has been the same thing for everybody that I've talked to. They're like, "Well, whoop-de-doo, we don't care now." So,
yeah,
good luck, Bungie.
yeah, like especially when like a studio is not loving what they're making. You got to wonder, okay, is Sony going to be implementing some type of major deadline? Now that Bungie kind of answers to PlayStation Studios.
Dear God, do you know what you just referenced inadvertently?
No.
Redfall.
Yeah.
And we all know what happened to that game.
Yeah, Redfall was not good.
I will say that I enjoyed portions of the game, but it could have been much better.
Yeah, and I still don't understand why they don't allow you to go back to the other map when there's collectibles there.
It was their idea of progression, and
but I mean,
like it's terrible.
Like, how do you know you have all the collectibles there without scouring every last inch of the map, then going, okay, let's finally go to the next map?
That's how they got you, though. They were all right. Well, you need to beat the game and then go back and do it again. And then everybody's like, "Ain't nobody got time for this."
Yeah, no,
we're not doing this.
Yeah, I'm not exactly too sure. Like maybe if I see more of Marathon, I would be somewhat excited for it. But like right now, like I don't know, like I don't even play Destiny anymore because that is such an absolute convoluted mess of a game.
Thank you. That's exactly why I stopped.
I bought that collector's thing that had everything, and then like I went back and tried something, and I'm like, I have no idea how to navigate this. And then I go back into the mission, and it shows like what happened with Cade and Crow or whatever like that, and I'm like, oh, that looks really cool. And then they show this cutscene, and I'm like, wait, do I not get to play this mission? And then I Googled, I'm like, oh no, I guess I never get to experience that mission ever. That seems like an extremely important thing that I should be playing.
Yeah, and I couldn't go back to Destiny, man. I
refunded it.
I was a big fan of Destiny. I really was. And then I forget which DLC, which expansion came out. Is when they started getting their ice powers, and I was like, I can't keep doing this. I'm done.
I think that was roughly about when I ended as well too. But yeah, no, like I refunded it, so I'm like, I'm never playing Destiny again. Like, not once. Like even if it was like available on like Game Pass or something like that or whatever, I don't think I would ever jump into it again.
What stinks though is because Destiny has an interesting story.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still vested in the story. I'll watch it. Like, there's a lot of fantastic Destiny 2 players and lore masters on YouTube. So whenever they release something, I'm just glued to the monitor watching exactly what they say. Because when Destiny 2 first came out, and they were like, these black triangle ships that we've been waiting for ever since the first Destiny are finally arriving. It's like, all right. And they're like, you know what? We're going to milk this forever. It's like, all right, I can't. When are they coming? 3, 4, 5? No. I don't have that time anymore. We'll wait.
Yeah, I remember all that kind of stuff and like love the story and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, like when you were removing content, that people have paid for. Like that sucks. Like that, it just
That
doesn't. It like how as a new player, how do you really get excited about the story? Because that is the driving force of pushing through those games. Like I know some people that don't pay attention to the story, they skip all that stuff and they just go in for the gameplay and the collectibles and things like that. Like
then
I've
you're
got a
playing the
friend
wrong
that
game.
I got a friend that plays with a friend that makes them skip all the stuff in First Descendant.
What?
Yeah,
Why?
because they don't pay attention to any of the story. So like when I'm playing with my friend, whatever, they're like, oh, okay, so that's what's going on. Because like I'm like yeah, watch the cutscene. I'm like I don't fucking care. Like I don't know. It's different strokes for different folks, but like it's so weird to like to see a game like Destiny that has such a fan base and a following to make it so impenetrable, like for new players. It's just so weird. Like I'm hoping that like if they do Destiny 3 that they make it a lot easier for how their content is kind of rolled out in terms of like space so that again like with Destiny 2 where they were removing it so that the file size wasn't so big or whatever the case was. Like there's ways to go about it without making your game massive. I mean even like Microsoft announced that like the next Call of Duty won't have Warzone automatically downloaded into the file so that the file download size is not massive. So.
It's this word I'm going to say. It's adorable that you think that we're going to get a Destiny 3. It's not happening.
Yeah,
It's not happening.
It's hard to say exactly because I mean like Sony's gonna want to have money coming back in, and Destiny 2 is only gonna go for so long.
And
So
that's my
like
problem. Don't milk this. I mean, Sony PlayStation has so many amazing first person shooters in their catalog that should have come back. Killzone, Resistance. What happened? These games made your PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3, and you forgot about them. Completely forgot about them. Why?
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because like I would personally love a new Killzone. I mean like
Oh,
Micro
hell
like
yeah.
Sony doesn't really have like their first person shooter much anymore. Like they've kind of like went into like their third person walking sad dad stories. That's pretty much kind of what they've just kind of been doing for like the last little while.
Stuff. Wow. Sorry there. Excuse me. Stuff that made PlayStation, they've forgotten about. Like you said, they'd rather keep giving us The Last of Us, The Last of Us 1, The Last of Us Remake, The Last of Us Super Remake Hyper Edition. And it's like, but you've had so many amazing games
See, I don't like
again
Last
that
of Us,
made
but a
them.
hyper edition would probably get me back on.
I'm not a fan of it. I played the first one and I was like, all right, whatever. I played the second one. I was like, I don't see where the hype is. Okay, fine. I would much rather play the older PlayStation games. And then again,
Well,
maybe because I'm just older PlayStation gamer.
it's a change of leadership as well too.
Yeah.
Like where they're like, okay, go in this direction and stuff like that. Because like personally, like as much as I would love Horizon 3 from Gorilla, I'd rather have a brand new Killzone. Can you imagine a Killzone that actually looked like that E3 trailer?
Right. And that's the thing, right? And it's like we don't have it. Why not?
Yeah, because we could actually have that and it would look better. Alrighty. Let's move it on here. So we've got a potential release date for Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection appeared online briefly before it was deleted. A recent release date of November 22nd, which is a friend of mine's birthday, was listed on the game's page on UK retailer Shop2 before it was quickly removed. Before it was taken down, screenshots of the release date were posted on Reset Era Forum. BGC can confirm the legitimacy of the original listing. Whether the listing was changed due to inaccuracy or because Capcom has yet to announce a release date is unknown. The collection, which was announced earlier this year, will be released on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and PC, but as of the time of this writing, not Microsoft consoles. The Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection will include 6 games across the series, as well as the Punisher game, which has not seen a console port. It's also been stated in other news that apparently Jez Corden has stated that Microsoft is working with Capcom in regards to the MT framework issues, which has been rumored to be the reason why some Capcom games have not been coming to Xbox. And if this rumor is led to believe, then there's even more credibility to that rumor that the MT framework is the reason for its neglect. But November 22nd, what are we thinking? I was thinking early December, actually.
The game is going to be at PAX West, put it that way. So, I mean, why release that game and then have it on, bring it to PAX West? I think it's also going to be a Gamescom. I may be incorrect about that.
Yes, but if it's like what it was at Evo, there were parts of it that were blacked out because they weren't done. That's what Maximilian Dude was mentioning, is that they were only allowed to play Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
I think, hang on, let me check something. I think this actually was at PAX might be the full version.
Yeah, it's hard to say if it'll be like the full version, but I mean, yeah, I mean, like if it depends, like they still could have like parts of it that are unfinished. There could be some like netcode stuff that they're still working on. There could be like a bunch of things that are not so much surface level, or they have that set date for a particular type of financial reason. But still, like if November 22nd like is the date for it, like I'm super excited. Like I'm going to be getting the physical edition on Switch, and I'll probably end up getting like a digital edition on probably PS4, PS5.
Do you remember what was playable at Evo? I do remember Max saying it wasn't complete, but
it was just Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Okay, so at PAX, it's Marvel vs. Capcom. It's Marvel vs. Capcom Class Superheroes and Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter will be playable.
Okay.
And X and Children of the Atom and Marvel Capcom 2. So this is definitely a much more completed build that'll be at PAX West.
Yeah. Yeah, because even then there could be parts of those games that are still not functional, like different costumes or like certain settings and stuff like that. So like they're still working on it, because again, like this game was only announced like a few months ago.
And we haven't got anything from press. Capcom hasn't said anything to us about, hey, this game is getting a release date as of yet.
Yeah.
And they're usually
Capcom
really upfront.
doesn't know I exist.
They're usually really upfront about these things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to say exactly. Like again, they probably don't want to address the rumors or anything like that, or add anything to it, because again, like you say the wrong thing and suddenly it adds credibility, even if you're trying to like, not.
You mean like what's happening right now? Like every website, almost every website, it's like it's potentially leaked. It's coming out this day.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, like it would be nice to have a release date, but at the exact same time, like I definitely agree with Microsoft's approach, where it's like put a release date when you are like actually sure that you're going to hit it.
I honestly think that they might be waiting. Maybe Microsoft, if Microsoft is working with Capcom on this, that they want to get working for Xbox, because that would be a massive PR boost. Like, hey, we work with Capcom and we've got it working for Xbox. Here you go.
Yeah, and like they can also be like, hey, and like since we have fixed the issue, we're also going to be releasing Phoenix Wright and Mega Man Battle Collection and blah 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 blah. Like, those games would all be coming, because like again, like people like to think Xbox is a small audience. It fucking is not.
You know what's funny, Jeff? I think a lot of people are forgetting one particular thing. Gamescom is in 4 days. They could drop the news right there. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I'm just speculating. Maybe they announced the release date during Gamescom, or maybe it's just a shadow drop. Hey, it's out now. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm just adding another games that I haven't played that I forgot, because I actually, when we get to it, I actually got to join my first press event. So that was super fun.
I need to have a
Alrighty.
scene around here to play those fighting games again. I don't like playing fighting games online.
Yeah, like I'm super pumped to play those games because there's a few of them that I never actually played. Like I played like I think like the Marvels. I played like Marvel's Capcom 1, 2, and Marvel Superheroes, and I think X-Men versus Street Fighter. But I don't know if I played any of the other ones. So like I'm gonna be going through the paces and just playing the absolute shit out of those games. Because like I have the Dreamcast version of Marvel vs. Capcom on my Steam Deck, and like I've played that because like one thing I like about that is the emulator that's on there runs it in widescreen as well, so like it looks really really good. And I
I
kind of
love
wish that these games would have been built for widescreen.
different time, different
Yeah,
time. I love the fact that people, fighting game community already knows this, but more and more, I don't want to say casuals, but we'll just say normal gamers, average gamers, are realizing that the Dreamcast has some banging games, and one of them was Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was the best version of the game outside the arcade for its
yeah,
time. Still is.
yeah. It's fantastic. Like honestly, once Capcom decides to bring like a 3D collection out, and we get things like like Rival Schools and stuff, but getting like Power Stone and Power Stone
Oh
2,
my god, yes, Street Stop.
like that would be so amazing. And like the thing
Oh,
about it is like
Power
Marvel vs.
Stone.
Capcom 2 is the first time that we've had a 3D fighting game added, because it is a 3D fighting game. The characters are 2D, but all the background elements are all 3D. So this is the first time that we've had a 3D game be part of a Capcom collection. Um, so it kind of makes me excited that we could possibly be getting like a 3D collection at some point, because Capcom, again, like they have been bringing all of these games as part of collections. Like there's very little left now to kind of like come out. And if they do a collection that brings those types of games out, like even like some of the older Street Fighter games and stuff, like they've been bringing like a lot of their stuff even to like Street Fighter 6, like in the arcade, in the lobby and stuff like that. They've been bringing a lot of those games out. But I'm super excited to see what's going to happen, because like this fighting collection, like they could have just called it Marvel vs. Capcom Definitive Collection, but it's part of the fighting game collection. It's part of these things that this is a series.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2, it's back.
Yeah.
And you
So
made me sad. Thank you for making me
hey,
sad.
I do what I can.
Power Stone, man. Come on. We've
It'll
been
happen.
asking for that for forever. That's
Yeah.
right up there next to Marvel vs. Capcom 2, man. Power Stone. There have yet to be a game made that does what Power Stone does.
Yeah, I mean, like we've had some of the other like fighting games that have kind of like aped certain things, like the where it's like 4 players in a 3D space and things like that, because like several games tried, some just never even actually got released. But
There was one, I think somebody was trying to kickstart, but it never happened. It's just like, to be blunt, how can you not emulate this 20-plus-year-old game?
I don't know.
Take what it did, change the character names, and be done. How have you not done this yet?
I think it's just because certain fads kind of kicked off and then kind of became the talking point, and then like games like Power Stone, just because of like they just didn't either perform well or whatever the case is, like they just never wanted to emulate those, because again, like platform fighters, kind of exploded, and then that became that type of thing. But
yet
the
we have
last time,
Super Mario Brothers, Super Smash Brothers,
yeah,
forever.
yeah, no, like I think the last time we got anything for Power Stone was like a PSP collection or something like that had 1 and 2 on it.
Did
I think
we
it was
even get that? I don't even remember that. Let me see.
yeah, because that was the last thing with Power Stone was a
Yeah,
PlayStation collection.
PSP.
Yeah. So, alrighty, let's go on here. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is officially delayed until February. I put this news on here originally because Jordan was going to be on the podcast, but he's not feeling well. He's been looking forward to this one as well. Following an earlier leak, the studio has now confirmed that the game is planned to release February 11th, 2025. We aimed for the end of the year and almost made it. Almost is not good enough, though, says Warhorse Studios PR manager Tobias Zwilling in a video posted to the game's social accounts. VGC recently had the chance to play the game for over 3 hours, coverage of which will be released on August 21st, the first public day of Gamescom. A new trailer for the game is set to premiere during Gamescom Opening Night Live next Tuesday. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a thrilling action RPG set amid the chaos of the Civil War in the 15th century Bohemia, according to the game's official description of the title. Do we think that this delay is part of the issues that team has been talking about in regards to the Series S?
It's hard to say, to be honest. Every time I hear a game delay, I think about the Xbox Series S, and then I go back and say, that console was a big mistake, a complete and utterly big mistake. I totally get that the console is cheaper and that it gets access to the games easier for more people. But then we keep running into issues where stuff is delayed or it comes out. It's because the Xbox Series S can't run the game as well. And then people start pointing fingers at Microsoft for making the console in the first place. So there's a very good chance that could be the case.
Yeah. See, the other case, the other side of the coin is this is a stacked year. Because you have potentially Indiana Jones coming out, you've got the next Call of Duty, you've got the next Dragon Age.
Let me give you a rundown real quick. I got you. So on the 30th, wait, no, let me back up. There's some these are just the games that I'm playing. We got Star Wars on the 30th. Wukong comes out on the 20th. We got Astrobot on September 6th. We've got Warhammer 40,000 on the 9th of September. Plucky Squire on the 17th. Dead Rising Remastered on the 19th. Silent Hill 2 on the 8th of October. Metaphor Fantastico on the 11th. Call of Duty, Life is Strange, Dragon Age Veilguard. And I'm pretty sure I missed some games in between that.
Yeah, where do you release a game like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? Because the first one was liked. I don't know how well it did.
That's not Gundam Breaker 4. That too.
Yeah. So it could be a combination of things. I almost think it's just release date thing. Microsoft moved Avowed out of the end of this year because it was just again absolutely swamped. But
there was a developer who came out and said, "Hey, look, there are too many games coming out, and we're just going to delay our game," and that's fantastic. But
yeah, no, it's hard to say exactly. But again, will be that game will be coming out in February. So February 11th. So that is going to be going there. Square Enix could switch to Unreal Engine 5 for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth director Naoki Hamaguchi told CG World Japan that the company planned to access the pros and cons of sticking with Unreal Engine 4 versus moving to Epic's newer engine. As spotted by Twitter user Genki, Hamaguchi said he thinks what players want most is for Square Enix to deliver the final game in good shape as soon as possible. With that in mind, the company will weigh upon whether switching to Unreal Engine 5 is likely to accelerate the development. Final Fantasy VII Remake was released for PS4 in April 2020. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade was then released in 2021, and the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was released in February of 2024. Hamaguchi said Rebirth took 4 years to develop in parallel with Final Fantasy VII Intergrade. Final Fantasy VII Remake series producer Yoshinori Katase, or whatever, previously said he hopes to complete the final game of the trilogy in a similar time frame to the second game. Honestly, I think visually, it would probably be fantastic to see that game kind of make the jump to Unreal Engine 5. But it's not so easy as just tossing that game in and hitting a switch. Like whether or not it's going to speed up, or like if it adds like another year of development, I don't know if they'll do it.
Depends on how serious they are to bring out their game. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Also, keep in
Like,
mind when people have been switching to Unreal Engine and bringing their games to the PC, there's been a lot of technical issues, especially with a lot of stuttering because they're not um, they're not compiling their assets at the very beginning of the game. So people, especially on PC, get these stuttering or micro stuttering, and it's a bad experience all around.
yeah. Yeah. It's hard to say like how much it would really speed up development, because like I remember when that one game, the day tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, whatever, that game that ended up coming out and just absolutely crashing because the people essentially lied as to what that game was. Because originally it was supposed to be Unreal Engine 4, and then they're like, yeah, we're going to spend a year and convert it to Unreal Engine 5. How easy that would actually be to do. Um,
It's
but
supposedly very simple to migrate from 4 to 5. But I've talked to a couple of developers. They're like, it's not as easy as Epic has said it is. And they've experienced a lot of issues in doing so.
yeah,
Unreal is just not very Unreal Engine is just, especially on the PC side of things, it's not very it doesn't play well, which is very weird given the fact who Epic Games is. And they made their life making PC games at the beginning. It's interesting. It's very interesting.
yeah, and we've seen like some Unreal Engine 5 games coming out, and they're just gorgeous. Like First Descendant is just absolutely stunning. There's just been some really really good games. So like, if they can end up getting this game running on Unreal Engine 5, like it's just going to look so much better than even Rebirth did. And Rebirth was still absolutely visually stunning. Like they've probably produced one of the best looking Unreal Engine 4 games. But yeah, it'll be absolutely interesting to see if they actually do that, but it's going to be a long time before we even know if they've even jumped on that. Alrighty. Fallout New Vegas director says he would lead a new Fallout game if granted creative freedom. In the second of his recently launched Q&A series on his YouTube channel, the Pentiment director said he would happily return to Fallout depending on the level of creative freedom he'd be granted. Any project has to do with what we are doing, what are the boundaries, and what am I allowed to do and not allowed to do, Sawyer said when asked by a fan about returning to the series. I think with any IP, especially one that I've worked on with before, what do I want to do this time that I wasn't able to do last time? If those constraints are really just constraining, then it's not appealing, because who wants to work on something where the one thing they want to explore is not possible? Enthusiasm for more Fallout titles from the team behind New Vegas has been growing for years. Last year, original Fallout creators Tim Kaine and Leonard Boyarsky expressed their enthusiasm for a potential Fallout New Vegas remaster. The longtime partners who most recently co-directed Obsidian's The Outer Worlds told The Gamer that they'd be keen to see the studio's 2010 Fallout game revisited. Not that it would be up to me, but wouldn't a graphical remaster of Fallout New Vegas be awesome? Kaine said in an interview. It would be awesome, Boyarsky agreed. Fallout is such a weird property because I think that, what's his name? The guy that runs Fallout now. Why can't I think of his name? It's the lead.
Todd Howard?
The Todd Howard. He is so, I think, restrictive on where he wants Fallout to kind of exist.
That's why I laughed at the beginning of this. You're not getting that.
Because, like, you get Fallout London, the mod that just released, which has been, like, doing absolute gangbusters. People have been absolutely just downloading the shit out of that game. And then where Fallout goes, because, like, there was always that, like, talk about how Bethesda was extremely jealous at Fallout New Vegas because it kind of was the most beloved entry in the Fallout series. But, like, I think a lot of people were expecting this to be a no-brainer when Microsoft bought Bethesda and then bought Obsidian, because it just felt like this can happen now. Like Microsoft could be like, yeah, no, go ahead, work on it. But it's hard to say exactly how much power Todd Howard actually has in that regard. Because, like, I know fans would probably rather see Obsidian work on Fallout than Bethesda. And I think that's where Bethesda's like, no, we need to be the only team working on Fallout.
Yeah, see, when you say that I want full creative control over a property that we don't own, that's not going to happen, especially with Todd Howard at the helm. He's going to go, no, this is just, especially now since the Fallout TV show did so good. No,
Yeah.
not happening. Not happening at all. You're better
Yeah.
off starting something similar to Fallout and trying to win that way.
Yeah. It'd almost be interesting if, like, Obsidian took over and did a Wasteland game, like Wasteland New Vegas. Because, like, Wasteland is the kind of like spiritual successor to what Fallout was. But yeah, it's hard to say exactly like where that's going to go and whether or not Sawyer is going to get to work on Fallout ever again. But I think a remaster of Vegas could be interesting because people absolutely love that thing. And not to mention, like, the TV series, like, spoilers if you haven't seen it. You've watched all of it?
I've
Keith?
watched it twice.
Okay, perfect. That show ends literally with it then going to Vegas. So, like, can you imagine if Fallout New Vegas, the Fallout, the season 2 comes out, and then the moment that series is out, basically we get like a remaster that just like drops.
Well, given the fact that when the show came out, it definitely renewed interest in the Fallout series. That's not very far fetched.
Yeah,
not at all. And then we got a remaster version of something when it came out, right? Or shortly after.
Fallout 4, it
Yeah.
got kind of like a super patch, pretty much. That pretty much made that game considerably better, especially on console. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see kind of what they do there. I'm going to save the big news for the last one there. The Witcher 4 will feature Geralt, but not as the lead character. The actor claims. This comes from Dog Cockle. Speaking as part of an interview, Dog Cockle commented on the 4th game, which is currently in development at the Polish studio CD Projekt Red. The Witcher 4 has been announced. I can't say anything about it. We know that Geralt will be part of the game. We just don't know how much. The game won't focus on Geralt, so it's not about him this time. We don't know who it's about, and I'm excited to find out. Cockle also claimed that he has yet to see a script for the game. So this is, very early on. They're definitely taking a look and seeing kind of what they can do. Like, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it follows Ciri, but I would be even less surprised if it follows someone else entirely. But I don't mind it not. Like, this is essentially kind of like, like the Halo 2 thing. This is kind of like Metal Gear Solid. What is it? Was it Metal Gear Solid 2?
What do you mean?
Or I'm trying to think of the subtitle on it, where like you essentially played as like Raiden.
Liberty?
Yeah, like you played as like Raiden. You
played as Raiden, but you still had Snake in the game.
But it was seeing the original lead from a different perspective. That was kind of like what they were doing, because like with Halo 2, like you play as like the Arbiter. So there is precedent essentially for having like another character in there as a lead, to kind of see the world and perspective from a different perspective, like seeing like Geralt from that perspective, and whether or not he would be joining on missions or if he's just kind of like, chilling out at his like vineyard, like like it would be really interesting to kind of see where this game's going. I mean, I know it's going to be probably years before we even see anything substantial in that game. But where are you at with Geralt not being the main character of Witcher 4?
I'm fine with it. In fact, I would rather they don't mention him whatsoever. Maybe a backstory of who he was, or maybe they find him decrepit and chilling somewhere. The problem with these games is when you make a new game like The Witcher 3, you want to keep adding this character who should be gone. Just like Street Fighter. I love Ryu. I love Ken. I started playing Street Fighter with him. Ken will forever be my favorite Street Fighter character. But there is a time where these two characters, in Chung Li and Guile, need to be sunsetted and gone from the equation, completely gone, so the
Yeah,
new characters can take their place.
but then you have a Street Fighter, was it 3 issue where it didn't have like some of the main
That's
characters?
Capcom's problem. They made a really silly timeline. That's their problem.
Yeah. I don't
Because
think
now
what
you got Street Fighter 6 and Bison's gone again, but Bison's back again, but it's not really Bison. It's like, what? 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 What are you doing? What? No, they don't know what they're doing. They wrote themselves into a corner and they're trying to figure that out. But for games that are more traditional, like The Witcher, leave him out. Leave him out. Let him go. Maybe he died a heroic death.
See, I think the issue for me, anyways, comes in the form that this is Witcher 4. They put a number on it. It's not Witcher subtitle. So for me, there has to be some type of continuation, and you can't do too much of a continuation without extremely like apparent connective tissue. So like Garrett would be that. So I think like and then how do you kind of explain a lot of it, because like weren't they not able to make any more Witchers? So like how does that happen? Are we playing as like just like another Witcher that is part of like the last little bits of like who is actually left?
That's for them to figure out in the script.
Yeah, because like again, like these take place like well after the novels, so like they've got a lot of creative freedom in regards to what they can actually do. But no, it'll be
But don't they
interesting
need
to.
to follow? Don't they need to follow the history, the lore of the novels, or no?
I don't know. I don't know the full thing. Um, I'm not too sure, like whether or not they actually have to like consult. What is it, Anton something something? I can't remember how his name goes. Whether or not they actually have to communicate with him at all. I know they signed like a new deal and stuff like that because he's suddenly realized, oh, well, I did not make a good deal because he made a good deal at the time. He just didn't believe in the project, so he took the lesser of what he was going to make.
Because I thought in during 3 that it was shown that there are no more Witchers being trained.
Well, they can't, like apparently like it's been years since I remember reading anything or on the lore, playing anything, but I thought there was like some type of ingredient in something that they had to like ingest or something like that no longer exists. I think it's similar to like the Black Panther thing.
Yeah, and even Siri wasn't actually a Witcher. He was just training her.
Yeah.
So
And she had her own set of powers and gifts and all that kind of stuff.
so like I said, this is up to them to figure it out because again, just like Street Fighter, they are beholden on the actual novels.
It's the
And what
clone of
happened in the last
Geralt.
game?
He's been cloned.
Get rid of him.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether or not we're going to be able to like make our Witcher, whether it's going to be male or female, and then customize them and give them fancy haircuts.
You know, that would not be a horrible thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're making an adventure game, here's my belief on these kind of games. Anytime you make an adventure game, I should be able to make my digital avatar. Unless you're following a set lore with a character who has already been in place and you know who that character is.
Yeah.
Castlevania. It's Simon, it's Trevor, it's Richter. You know who you're playing. By the way, God, I miss Castlevania.
Mhm.
But, so you know that. But when you're playing something that's completely new and he's not the main character, let me make my character.
Yeah. But then you get people that make these like weird abominations, and there's all these cutscenes come out, and all of a sudden, like this like purple guy who looks like, you know,
You
Play-Doh that's
can't
been left out in
you
the
you,
sun.
you can't stop it. You can't stop it.
No, I mean, yeah, like, and as for like say Witcher 4, what do you think the odds are that there's some type of co-op?
No, don't do
No.
that. I don't want that. I want my single player adventure. I don't want co-op. I want single player.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat in terms of like if it's seamless, um, and like it does the thing where like you can hire like a mercenary to help you. Like it's not just like, oh, son, I've got two girls running around. Like, you know, if it makes sense to like that type of stuff, or if there's like a Witcher guild or something like that, and then like you bring somebody in through there. But hard to say. We will find out more. They've got multiple Witcher projects on the go. So we will go from there. Let's see here. So the big news this week, which has been just absolutely amazing news, and that is Tango Gameworks has been acquired by Krafton in a move that will keep the studio alive. Xbox announced in April that it was shutting down 4 Bethesda studios: Tango, Redfall maker Arcane Austin, Mighty Doom developer AlphaDog, and support studio Roundhouse Games. The studio seemingly closed its doors in June, with developer Taiko Kito sharing photos on social media of what he said was its last day. However, South Korean publisher Krafton, who also owns PUBG Studios and the Callisto Protocol Studios Striking Distance, has announced that it has acquired Tango Gameworks, seemingly rescuing it. Krafton Inc. today welcomed the talented people of Tango Gameworks to their team, marking an exciting moment in the company's global expansion and its first significant investment in the Japanese video game market, the publisher said in a statement. This strategic move will include the rights to Tango Gameworks' acclaim IP, Hi-Fi Rush. The publisher plans to work with Xbox and ZeniMax to ensure a smooth transition and maintain continuity at Tango Gameworks, saying it wants the team to continue working on the Hi-Fi Rush IP and other future projects. Krafton intends to support Tango Gameworks' team to continue its commitment to innovation and delivering fresh and exciting experiences for our fans. Krafton says the move will have no impact on the studio's previous games: The Evil Within, The Evil Within 2, Ghostwire Tokyo, and even the first Hi-Fi Rush, which will all still be available on their existing platforms. It was then further said that only about 50 people, roughly, from Tango Gameworks have moved on to this new iteration of the studio because other people have found jobs or whatever the case is. So it's hard to say exactly if some of the most seasoned developers that were responsible for large components of that game are actually coming over. But this is an extremely welcome news in a sea of layoffs.
Yeah. I think when this news finally came out, there was one side going, "That's nice that Xbox didn't get rid of them and they actually work out a deal with Krafton to do it." And the other side was like, what did Xbox actually do? The whole thing that I don't like is the messaging. If you laid them off, then you laid them off. But if you actually were working on a deal with another company, you should have said that instead of saying, "We're laying off these people." So what exactly happened? But I'm glad that these people are getting a new lease on life. I'm glad that they're able to keep making the game. I'm glad that Hi-Fi Rush will continue to be developed and
Yeah.
we'll see no expansions or whatever. But I'm also a little sad that Xbox did keep the rights to the Evil Within and also Tokyo Ghostwire. And it's like, are you going to do anything with those properties,
I don't
or do you
think
just keep them?
I don't think Ghostwire Tokyo did well.
It did okay for a new IP. It did okay.
Yeah. I don't see that IP ever coming back. Evil Within, I could probably see because I mean like it can be like their Resident Evil. Um, but yeah, like I'm super pumped kind of see what Hi-Fi Rush can kind of do, because that game was just incredible. And according to Xbox, it performed extremely well, which is why you lay up a studio. But yeah, like I'm excited to see what Krafton can kind of do. They want to break into the Japanese market. This is a great way of doing it. You've got a studio that's got a really good history behind it in terms of what they've made. They could, after Hi-Fi Rush, they could essentially make another Evil Within, but just with a different name. But it's hard to say exactly because like different parts of Tango Gameworks were working on Evil Within and Hi-Fi Rush. Like there wasn't, I don't know if there was much connective tissue between that, because again, like they had a small team of within Tango Gameworks working on Hi-Fi Rush 2. But
I'm happy, but I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I'm just saying I'm happy for them. I'm glad for them. I'm glad that they still have jobs, and I'll leave it at that. It's not about them. It's about the people who purchase them, and not the people who purchase them, but the people who own stock in them.
yeah, I'm just gonna add another news item here. Yeah, like again, like when I heard this news, I was like super excited because like again, like we've had nothing but layoffs after layoffs after layoffs, but we've had very, very few stories coming out where another company has been like, hey, we're just going to save that. Like I would love for a company to be like, hey, yeah, we're actually going to save Piranha Bytes. We're good. We've brought them back. The studio's here, because like that one hit me the most, just because like I absolutely love that studio. But the fact that Tango Gameworks has a new lease on life, or at least most of its staff, that's just, I think, the positive news.
Oh yes, it's fantastic news. Like you said, in a sea of layoff after layoff after layoff, this is fantastic news.
Yeah.
No new Evil Within though.
Yeah, I mean, we that could still happen. It just won't be made by that team. I mean, that's.
Would you want a Resident Evil not made by Capcom?
I mean, I think it kind of like depends in some ways, because like you kind of do have that in a lot of ways, because like Daymare started out as a Resident Evil fan mod and then ended up turning into its own game. And Daymare, the second one especially, is a pretty decent Resident Evil like.
But they worked with Capcom.
Yeah.
Capcom invited them out and they worked together. So,
like there's ways of doing it, because like I think Callisto Protocol was like kind of in the right direction to a certain point, but I just kind of wish it would have went more into the survival horror aspects of the game.
Yeah,
but I still think it's entirely possible, because I mean, like, I don't know, it's a good IP that they could definitely revisit, but they could essentially like license that game out to them as well too. So it's not like they couldn't work on it. I think it's mainly just they just want them owning it. And if they're working with Microsoft on certain things, the table for negotiation is all there. Alrighty. The lead writer on Star Wars Eclipse has left to start his own studio.
Poof.
Adam Williams, who joined Quantum Dream in 2015, posted a message on his LinkedIn page that he has left the studio and has founded his own. Almost 10 years at Quantum Dream, I am leaving to form a new studio together with a group of very talented designers and developers. We can't say too much yet, but we are working on something very innovative, very special, and for now, very secret. More on that soon. Do we think that Star Wars Eclipse is ever coming out?
No. That game is in development hell. I'm surprised
Disney
hasn't one. I'm surprised Disney hasn't approached them. You know what? You're not doing anything with this license. Just stop.
Yeah. especially given like the trouble of the studio and basically who's running it and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, like I just don't see that game ever coming out. Like, because like they hadn't even started development when they showed off that like trailer. Like that's the absolute sad thing. But yeah,
when was this game announced? I don't recall when it was announced, but it was a 2021. Okay, I see 2021.
Yeah.
And then there hasn't been any kind of updates other than, oh, hey, he's gone.
Yeah, other than yeah, because like, and then anything to do with that studio was just nothing but the controversy and all the lawsuits and all that kind of stuff. So like, it just seemed like they just couldn't get people to join the studio. And when you have a person who's been there for 9 years or 10 years, leave,
you kind of wonder what exactly is going on there.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like you're having troubles getting people in the first place. Just because that studio is just you know, the I can't remember his name, but the guy essentially at the heart of all of it is still there. He's still running the studio. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see this. I don't see this game getting released ever.
Well,
and it sucks because like we're in kind of the golden era of Star Wars games. I mean, we got Outlaws coming out in just over a week. Jedi Survivor did extremely well. Like, there's just like a lot of really good Star Wars games. Probably some of the best.
Quantum
Star Wars
Dreams
games
is not going to do well unless they get rid of David Cage.
Yeah, David Cage. Yeah, I don't know, because like I know a lot of people like do love their games and stuff, but I mean, there was just a lot of controversy with that guy and kind of like his behavior and the studio's behavior, and then just kind of like all of the harassment that a lot of people had gone through.
And the problem with that is he's the founder, so people are going to leave likely before he leaves. I mean, if he actually cares about his company, he would have left.
And here's the thing:
he won't.
The writer who left, do we think he's taken people?
No, but it could start an exodus. It could. If he starts his studio, then maybe. I got a solid gig. My boss may be an ass. I'm not jumping ship until I see something that's going to keep me afloat for a while. Now, if you start your studio and you say, hey, I've got investors or XYZ and I've got money, come over here, then yeah, I'm gone.
Yeah, because that's generally what happens with a lot of these studios, where they usually leave not just on their own, but they usually leave with a couple people because they're there to communicate, saying like, hey, I've got this idea, let's go. So that's usually the case, is that usually you do see a couple people kind of like leave that have had working with those people for years, because there is something there. But no, it'll be interesting on there. Yeah, that's pretty much it that I've got for news. So we'll get into kind of what we've been playing. So I had a chance to check out a game called Nightling. This has been kind of just revealed over the past couple days as kind of part of Gamescom and all that kind of stuff. This is a game coming out from Saber Interactive. The developer, I want to say it's Twirlbound. Let me see here. Yeah, from Twirlbound. This is a really interesting game. Like, I got to play a very, very early build. I mean, the game's not going to be out for another year and some. It's kind of like a Zelda-like in terms of like a, not really like a Breath of the Wild or anything. Like, there's like the city that you kind of start in is just massive. It's got tons of different biomes and all that kind of stuff. And essentially what it is that you play a kind of like a squire of like this famous knight, and the famous knight has gone missing, and you have his shield, who has its own personality. So the shield talks to you and all that kind of stuff. And you basically fight with the shield. So you don't have a sword or anything like that. You fight with the shield. So you can like throw it Captain America style, or you can basically bash around. You can run, jump, and slide on the shield. I think there's like a glider kind of built in with the shield as well too. And you kind of like everybody essentially has like their face masked up, because like I think like humanity essentially like escaped here, but like I don't think they, I can't remember exactly too much of the lore why they had to hide themselves, but it's kind of like this cartoony kind of looking game. Um, the early chance that I've had to check it out, it's actually not too bad. It plays super slick. Like everything feels really good to play. The personality behind the game is pretty interesting. Like one of the missions that you get to do in the demo is there is a food supply issue, and you go out to this like where the food is collected, like the ingredients and all that kind of stuff, and there's all these monsters attacking, and then basically you set up this like paint trap, and then the monster triggers it, and you follow the painted footsteps over to like a nest, and then defeat the monsters and stuff. So it's got like very traditional kind of like lead ups on it. The side quests seem pretty decent so far. Most of it is kind of the same, similar things that we've been playing. But I haven't had a chance to check out like the meat of it, like in terms of like the main story stuff, of how that's going to really affect it. But the world and stuff seems pretty spacious and big, especially for like the team size that's kind of working on this, because it is an extremely small team. The game was basically just shown off about 2 days ago. So it's a new fantasy action adventure game featuring a mix of exploration, questing, combat, and platforming in a semi-open world. Developed by Trollbound, the talented indie studio behind the award-winning Pine. The Nightling is a captivating tale of bravery and magic, coming to PC versus Steam via Steam, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and Nintendo Switch in 2025. Yeah, it's pretty decent. Footage is basically out of kind of what this game is, what it looks like, and it was neat because like we got to talk with the team about kind of certain things. Like there's a day and night cycle that affects like the monsters and stuff that are out. The general voice acting is kind of all gibberish except for the shield, because you need to be able to hear what the shield says as you're moving around. You just can't stop to read a subtitle. There's some customization in terms of like the outfits and colors and all that kind of stuff that you're going to have as well too. There's skill tree to kind of work through, things like that. But no, it's actually not too bad. You can check our story on Analytic Gaming, which has the trailer for it as well too, so you can kind of see what this game looks like, and it looks pretty interesting from what it's got going on. Keith, have you been playing anything?
Oh yeah. So actually, I heard about the Nightling. I was gonna check that out at PAX West, but other than Elden Ring, given the fact that this show won't be out before this evening, I've been playing a lot of a game that I think a lot of people have been waiting for, the Plucky Squire. Previews are going up today, Friday, as of 12 p.m. This game is amazing. For those who've seen this game before, you know it's been delayed a couple of times. This game is basically a storybook come to life, and I have nothing but positive things to say about this game. The art direction is amazing, both the storybook and when you go into the actual world, the 3D rendering. The gameplay is very reminiscent of, say, Zelda or Cult of the Lamb, where it's top down, hack and slash, dodge, adorable characters. But the cool thing about this is how it segments to mini games. Like 1 second you're doing a side scrolling like Mario to a boss that turns into a punch out segment. You're actually having to punch and jab the character boss, The next one is a top-down dash. You're going downwards as the stage moves upwards, and you're trying to avoid enemies. There's another one where you go up to a card that looks like it's pulled from Magic the Gathering, and you jump into the card, and you're fighting the character to get access to her stuff. It's
Nice.
it's when I played this game, I was grinning from ear to ear. I was giggling, I was laughing. It's just how well written the story is, how well the characters are. Just everything about this game screams fun. And I can see why the developer delayed this game as long as they have. It's just an amazing game. I really think that people are going to be surprised. And this, calling it now, will be a contender for Game of the Year.
Nice.
It
Yeah,
really
it looks excellent. Like again, like Devolver has had a very very good kind of talent scout in regards to like finding games that are just unique in a lot of ways while bringing like a lot of fun gameplay.
yeah, it's so much fun. I literally it's fun. It's fun, guys. It's if you ever wanted to get a game that was synonymous of fun, this is it. It reminds me, and I said in my preview, the kind of fun, whimsical fun that this game possesses is like something you normally get from playing a Nintendo game, a Mario game.
Yeah.
That's how magical this game is.
Do you think that this type of game is going to get overshadowed by Astrobot in
No,
regards to like
no,
the tone? No.
no. It's just what this game does. Astrobot is it's going to be a fantastic 3D platformer. This is an amazing storyteller. This is a looker, and this is something that you can play on multiple platforms:
Yeah.
PC, Xbox, PlayStation. And I know I was told not to play it on handheld devices like the Switch and the ROG Ally, and I didn't put it in my preview. I know I was told not to do it. I did it, and it
Mhm.
works great across both of them. So when you're
Nice.
sitting down and you're like, I want to play that on this, you can. I don't know why they said not to. It works great.
Yeah, unless there's like any type of like technical issues that may show up.
I had no issues. And
Mm.
technically, okay, I back up. I did have issues in the game. Certain things didn't work right, but that was on the PC version. Well, my full blown got is here PC. So it's great. Look for my preview. If you guys see this podcast later on, uh, you're going to see quite a few people talking about that game very soon. And I'll be one of them. Because God darn, this game is amazing. Other than that, no, not really. Nothing that I can talk about.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. Nothing I can talk
Yeah.
about.
I've got two right now for under embargo until the end of the month. And both of them are incredibly difficult. That's all I'll say right there. I have been kind of going back and playing a few things. I tried the first hour of Atlas Fallen's revamped campaign. This was I can't remember the exact name. What is it? Atlas Fallen. Rain of Sand. And so this basically is a brand new patch that, much like Overwatch 2, kind of like overwrites the original. So this expansion, this update, it changes the campaign in a lot of significant ways. I know that they've added a lot of new characters and story arc. Like it's a completely revamped campaign. Even the beginning is entirely different. You're in the same areas, you're kind of doing the same things, but there's different intent behind a lot of it. And I picked the male character this time around just because Ben Starr has replaced the main character. So he's there as well. So I wanted to kind of hear that voice acting throughout the game. But I've only played the first hour. They've added new monsters, new dynamic events, world events, monsters, creatures, new characters, a whole new area. This is such a I'm not going to say unprecedented because it certainly has happened before, but for a game that did okay to suddenly get the budget to completely revamp the game is very interesting, especially since it is um, kind of under the, I believe under Embracer, because I think it's THQ.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's so impressive to see, and like I like the changes that they've made so far. It makes a lot more sense in terms of like the storyline that I've played so far. I'm going to be jumping in and playing more of it to kind of go through and see it. It's just a pretty lengthy game to kind of go through and replay all over again, especially with all the stuff that's coming out right now. So it's going to be kind of the thing that I'm going to be playing like an hour here or there. But no, it's not bad. It's pretty interesting to kind of see them to do that. I haven't jumped into too much of it, but the beginning does have a completely different rewritten story. Because in the beginning, like you in the base game, the regular game, you knew where Tracker was, the person that you were, is kind of like your mentor, and in this revamped one, she's not in the camp at all. So they've changed that entirely. You actually don't talk with your other people that are there and form this conversation, and then that gets interrupted. Like all that's gone. They kind of made a lot more sense out of certain things. I think it's definitely a improvement. But no, if you never played Atlas Fallen, this is definitely going to be, I think, the best way of playing it, because so far from what I've seen and kind of covered, they have completely revamped the game. And I will say that game in co-op is absolutely fun. It's way more fun playing that game in co-op than playing it single player, just with how the combat works, because it is a character action game, so it plays kind of like a Devil May Cry, Bayonetta kind of game in terms of its combat. But definitely worth checking out. The other thing that I have been playing is Mage Seeker, a League of Legends story. This came out a while ago, but I'm finally just getting kind of jumping back into it. This is another one of those spin-offs where League of Legends has been kind of shopping out its IP to indie studios to essentially make smaller games. I've played a few of them so far. The best one, obviously, being the one that Airship Syndicate did, which is kind of like a spiritual sequel to Battle Chasers. That game was extremely fun. I played the other one where you play as the little boy and the kind of Sasquatch type of monster and stuff like that. Like that one was pretty good. I still have to actually play through the rest of it. I just got other things that I was playing on at the time. But Mage Seekers is a game that plays very similar to what's that game? It's like a pixelated hack and slash game. I can't remember what it was like. It'll come to me. But it's basically like an isometric pixelated game where you kind of like quickly dash around and slash at certain things. I had it on the tip of my tongue.
Airship Syndicate?
No. This was made by. They have a sequel that's actually coming out, and then the game that they did before was their first voyage into 3D, and you were like attacking it like black blobs and all that kind of stuff. But the sequel for the other game is going to be coming out soon. God, what it is? Andy Cortez absolutely loves it. He always wears the T-shirts half the time. From what it was, but Mage Seeker, basically what it is that you play this guy that was imprisoned for using magic. It was like magic's like an offense and stuff like that, and eventually there's like a prison break, and you escape out, and you have your chains still on your hands, and you use those basically as weapons as you're slashing left and right, and you basically can absorb the magic ability of whoever is attacking you, and then repel that magic back. So if you are fighting a fire and ice mage, and you zap and take the fire and hit the ice mage, it does more damage. And if you take the ice power and hit the fire guy, that does more damage. And then you get different abilities that you can kind of have as a default that uses mana. And then as you attack physically, it rebuilds your mana. And it plays extremely good. It's got like, you can kind of like use your change to like grapple to things that are like outside your platform range. And it's actually it's visually, it looks really good. I'm trying to figure out what that game is, because once I say what the game is, you'll know exactly which one it is. But for the life of me, no, it's not Children of Morta. That was really good. Hyper Light Drifter.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was going to say,
So,
wait a second. I'm like, wait, what game is this?
Mage Seeker, yeah, like it plays like Hyper Light Drifter. And it's solid. Like I like the story so far that's going on, because again, it's just like disrupting a regime, so it's nothing like groundbreaking or anything like that. But what you're doing is you're slowly building this like army essentially to take them out, essentially. And it's really good. Like it plays really nice. One thing that I think that Riot is doing extremely well is that they're finding the right people to kind of like explore their properties. And they're giving those teams the freedom to kind of find the personality within the games that work extremely well. And I think Riot is doing things that I wish Overwatch was doing, where they were taking these amazing characters and actually fucking doing something with them. Like they're giving them.
I think
like,
Overwatch is done, my friend.
Yeah, but I mean, like those characters, like are interesting. Like I would just love to see more about them. So like with what they're doing with League is like League has like, I don't know, 100 characters. I have no idea. They have lots. And they've got a fighting game like 2XKO that's going to be coming out, which is going to take advantage of the League characters. And that's going to do extremely well. And all of the games that they've been producing, like even like, you know, what they've been doing with Arcane, like Arcane Season 2 is going to be coming out later this year. And that's going to be another like award-worthy show, because that's literally the best TV series season I've ever seen. And you've got these other games and stuff like that that have been doing well. I'm trying to remember the name of it. League of Legends spinoffs.
Oh, there's been a couple of those. You gotta be specific.
Yeah. Yeah, because I played. So Mage Seeker. Song of Nunu is the other one that I played on Switch. And that game is super fun. Like you play as like a little boy and this like kind of Yeti kind of monster, and then basically like you team up, and essentially like you'll jump on the Yeti, and then he has like his big attacks, and he can like throw you in certain areas, and you solve puzzles and stuff. And the platforming elements, like that game is super, super fun. I heavily recommend it if you are looking for like a good kind of kids style game. It does extremely well in having that personality that is just incredibly charming. But Mage Seeker has been very, very good. I haven't played too much. I think I played probably about 2 hours of it so far, just because I've been busy with some other games and stuff. But no, it is really, really solid. Last week I had talked about Gestalt, Steam and Cinder. If like again, this is, it's not my game of the year, but it's very close. Like it's definitely going to be, I think, in my top, at least in my top 10, probably even my top 5. So I just want to shout that game out again. It is just as I had a limited time to kind of talk about it last week, and it's great. It runs absolutely flawlessly on Steam Deck. It's available for pretty much everything out there. This is the studio's first game. It's produced by Jesse Cox and Dodger. If anyone's familiar with them, they are pretty kind of extremely popular YouTubers kind of back in the day. And this game is just really, really good. It is kind of like a light Metroidvania. So it is a Metroidvania, but it doesn't it doesn't kind of like really explore the genre, I think, in ways that typical Metroidvanias do, where it's extremely focused about this ability is going to get you here. And like playing like Norea the Gold Project, which was fun. I really enjoyed it. That map was way too big. And this map is very conservative. Um, the map is not big at all. Like if you took a picture of the map and compared it to something like Norea the Gold Project, it's almost like one area of Norea is the size of the whole map of Gestalt, Steam, and Cinder. But yeah, it's one game that I definitely do suggest. It's extremely cheap as well too. So if you are looking for like a Metroidvania, like even if you're burnt out on the genre,
How can you be burnt out on Metrovanias?
there's
I
been a
mean,
lot lately. I've played.
Metrovanias are life.
Oh, I know. I've played probably like 5 or 6 of them in the last year. And like the only bad thing that I can say about some of them is like Last Faith, I think is the other one. And Array of the Gold Project. I think that their maps and some of the difficulty spikes in that game are a bit too much. But the one thing with the only negative thing that I will say about Gestalt, Demon Cinder, and the only negative thing that I can even think about is that game is once you get about a third in, the rest of the game is an absolute breeze. There just needs to be a patch to balance out the bosses because like I didn't die at any boss after about a third of the way in. Everything after that was just like absolute cakewalk. Like even the last fight, I had plenty of health potions left. Um, and like that's the only thing that I can say that's negative. Like um, the story is super interesting. Like it's in my review, I mentioned that this game shines in its simplicity. You know, like it doesn't feel watered down. The story is simple, but it's perfectly executed. We get to know like it does something that most Metroidvanias don't do, and that is it will like, you'll be going into another area, and then it'll go black, and then all of a sudden you're on the other side of the map, and it's the bad guys talking, and you get to like see their perspective and that story go on. Like it's not like a Metroidvania where the story is happening to you constantly. You walk into a room, a character's there, you basically chat, fight. That's generally how Metroidvanias usually tell their stories. That's how like Prince of Persia: Lost Crown told their story. You always had the main character there as the catalyst for whatever narrative was being shown on screen. That's not the case with this. And this game's only about 6 to 8 hours. Like it's not terribly long, but it's got a really nice skill tree to kind of work for that kind of makes a difference in kind of like how the power works. You got a gun basically that you can use. You get your bullets back by just doing melee attacks. And like without saying anything regarding it, I cheered at the fucking ending. Like I was like, oh, let's fucking go. And I'm so excited for a sequel. Because it's one of those endings where you are either going to love it or you're going to hate it. Like it's not quite the like, what are you going to do, sir? I'm going to finish the fight, and then credits pop up. It's not that, but it kind of has energy in that that kind of space. But it is such a. I had a great time with this game. Like, it's one of the few Metroidvanias. Like again, I think it's like a Metroidvania light because like I never got stuck in that game. Like organically, it pushes you where you need to go. And that's the one thing I like about it is it kind of, and again, purists of the genre may not like it. People who like Metroidvanias may not like it, but it feels like it's guiding where you need to go. It's not giving you that freedom to be like, I'm going to go fuck off in this direction. It organically shows you where you need to go. It's a very lean Metroidvania.
So that's why I say, like, even if you are burnt out on the genre, it's a good one to get into because it doesn't waste your time. Like it has a very specific story and a specific flow and pacing that it wants to get through, and it does a really good job with it. The wall running feels good. The double jump feels good. Like, you double jump by jumping and then firing your gun down, and then that gets you a little higher. And yeah, it's absolutely solid. It kind of reminds me of like Pepper Grinder in regards to like,
I love that game.
yeah, like if you love Pepper Grinder, you will love Gestalt, Steam, and Cinder, because I think they're almost cut from the same cloth in regards to kind of like how the pixelated stuff works, and like the animation in Gestalt is unbelievably good. Like, every single time I'm playing this game, like every half hour, I'm like, this is a team's first game. Holy shit! Like it just has all the polish you want from a game like that. And I like the main character. Like, she's super cool. Like, there's the story kind of rolls out in a way where you get all the answers you need, but then it asks more questions. And so it always keeps you kind of engaged on kind of what's happening. And you'll see a lot of the plot twists and a lot of the narrative stuff kind of happening and beforehand, and you'll put the pieces together before she will. But we're also not dealing with a lot of heavy news being given to us personally. So like there's a little like clouded vision of what she has and what she's perceiving and stuff like that. But yeah, I think the only negative I have in that game is that the bosses are just way too easy. You get so incredibly powerful, and like you have access to like extremely quick heals. It's not like most games that are kind of borrowing from like the Souls-like things where they're like, yeah, I'm just going to take the cap off and like dust that off and then drink thing. And then, 7 years later, you finally healed yourself. So it's not like that. But no, that is Gestalt, Steam, and Cinder. It plays so good on Steam Deck. It is verified. I believe there is a demo. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it is unbelievably good. And that's pretty much about the only other thing that I can kind of talk about that I have been playing. Unless you have anything else.
I don't have anything else. However, I did want to mention that I have played a lot, not recently, but I played a lot of a game called Witchfire. This is a first-person supernatural game I've been following for years. I kept harassing developers about the game. It finally came out last year. I love it, but they've been slowly adding new things to the game, new features, adding a new map, or have added a new map. I'm not sure. I haven't played it in a while. And the game is finally coming out to Steam. So I think that's going to give the game a bigger push because the game came out on Epic Game Store. And I know there's a lot of contention in the PC gaming space with playing games on the Epic Game Store. I know because I used to be one of those people. Regardless, I think that this game is an amazing game. It's coming out on Steam fourth quarter of this year in early access. Obviously, the game is not done. But I really do think if you're looking for a really great first-person shooter, it has adventuring and I hate to say Souls-like elements, but yeah, definitely give that game a try. Or if you don't want to wait, go play it over on the Epic Game Store. It's on sale. Give it a try.
One last actually bit of news that I forgot to add in our show notes that I want to cover definitely, and that is Dragon Age, the Veilguard, has had its release date announced.
Yes.
This comes to us from Jordan Andal from Analog Stick Gaming. Oh my God. BioWare has finally revealed the release date for the long-awaited Dragon Age, the Veilguard. Today saw a new story-focused trailer confirming the launch date as October 31st, 2024. So it's going to come out on Spooky Day. In Dragon Age, the Veilguard, players will step into the role of Rook, a fully customized protagonist who must rise up, unite their crew, and become the hero Theos needs in a time where legends are born or slain. Joining Rook in their fight against corrupt elven gods is a cast of 7 compelling companions, each of which who hails from an iconic faction from Dragon Age lore.
In addition to their own personal storylines and motivations, companions Valera, Davrin, Emmerich, Harding, Lucanus, Nev, and Tosh all bring unique combat abilities and equipment to the fray, which Rook must strategically implement in their fight for the future of Thedos. I am super excited for Dragon Age, the Veilguard.
Yeah, I am too.
The Dragon Age Inquisition, it was one of the expansion packs, was actually the first review I ever wrote. And like, yeah, like I'm pumped for this game. I mean, it's being made 4 hours from me right now. I've mentioned on the podcast before that I was this close to working for BioWare. But I know a lot of people are not sold on the visual style. I think that this game has such a unique look that I'm really, really eager for, especially to see how it connects to the previous games. Like, are we going to be seeing like characters from the previous games, like Morrigan, like, those types of characters? Like, there's a lot of characters even from 2 that I absolutely love, and from 3, from Inquisition, that I really enjoy, to see whether or not they make an appearance. But no, I mean, we're just basically a few short months away from playing that game. You can definitely see the live service elements that are still there that they removed, because the game is mission based as opposed to exploring an open world. So it's going back to the hub and then jumping through a portal or whatever, and then you have your mission. So it's pretty much like going back to the tower in Destiny and then heading out on your mission. But no, I'm super excited for October 31st is the release date for it. You can check out Analytic Gaming for more details, as well as the trailer. But yeah, I mean, that's, I think, pretty much everything that we've got going for today on the podcast. So we will be back hopefully next week. Me and Jordan will be hopefully back next week together talking about it. But Keith, I want to thank you very much for stepping in and
You're welcome.
being my co-host for today. But that's pretty much going to be it from the Gaming Mix podcast, as well as Analog Stick Gaming. We're going to have some I think the latest reviews that we've had on the site have been Gestalt, Steam, and Cinder. Game is fantastic. Well, we've always had Star Wars Bounty Hunter, which I just absolutely did not like. Cat Quest 3 is really, really good. It's just a bit too similar to what we've had before. And Creatures of Ava is a pretty decent game if you are looking for another kind of creature collecting game. And it does a really good job with kind of what it does. But those have been the latest updates that we've had on Analytic Gaming, as well as a whole bunch of news that we've been posting, with a whole bunch of news I'm going to be posting today. So keep it locked on Analog Stick Gaming. And also check out the Outerhaven. You guys are doing a lot of great stuff. You've got a really good cast of writers going on there. Jordan has been contributing there as well too. But in a sea of a lot of outlets and stuff like that, losing people and being bought out and kind of having to swap to community funded types of things and stuff like that, support your like independent outlets, support the little guys, basically, that we're doing this basically out of our passion for the industry. We're not doing this essentially to make a paycheck. We want to cover as much as we can because we just love talking about games. So check out Analog Stick Gaming, check out the Outerhaven. There's tons of basically other small outlets to check out as well too. But that's going to be it from us. I'm Jeff Young from Analog Stick Gaming. That is Keith Mitchell from the Outerhaven, and we will see you guys next time.
Take care.